Let's get to the news. During a campaign rally last night in Las Vegas, Vice President Kamala Harris told attendees that she was all in and former President Trump was, quote, ready to fold, though I think it's kind of a low blow to talk about him in casino language. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign over the weekend launched Athletes for Harris, while Athletes for Trump was canceled because OJ died. The New Yorker magazine yesterday endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, while Trump was endorsed by Swank, Hustler, and Barely Legal. In a new interview, former First Lady Melania Trump said that she was in New York during former President Trump's second assassination attempt, but as soon as she heard, she rushed right into the kitchen to get a snack. In the same interview, Melania Trump also said that former President Trump would have liked to have had more kids after having their son Barron. Well, don't feel bad. There's a very good chance he did. While speaking on Friday at former President Trump's rally in Michigan, former presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. paused his speech, pulled his phone from his pocket, and said, "Sorry, my doctor is calling," and ended the call. Say what you will about the guy, but I wish I had the confidence of someone who eats roadkill on the regular and then lets his doctor go to voicemail. New York Mayor Adams attended a prayer service over the weekend at a church in Queens, and then afterwards, nobody could find the collection plate. And finally, a man in Pennsylvania recently set a Guinness World Record for tallest hat. "You gotta be kidding me," said the guy behind him at the movies. Tonight's vice presidential debate between Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Ohio Senator J.D. Vance did not include an audience, which, because of his rallies, gives Vance home court advantage. After tonight's debate, Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz are set to kick off a bus tour through central Pennsylvania, but Walz is going to be pretty disappointed when he finds out someone else is driving. Former President Trump attended the Georgia-Alabama football game over the weekend and tossed boxes of chicken tenders into the crowd while they chanted USA, which is the easiest way to describe this country to someone who's never been here. "Get me the tenders. They're worthy of the tenders." Former President Trump over the weekend attended the Georgia-Alabama football game and sat in a box with golfer John Daly and musician Kid Rock. Apparently, you get to see a game with the president if you collect 1 billion Marlboro miles. That's right, they watched the game from a box and had McDonald's and Domino's pizza delivered. I mean, thank God nobody lit a match. I feel bad for the cleaning crew the next morning. Remember in middle school when it was your turn to rinse out the terrarium and you got hit with that turtle funk? Imagine that times John Daly and Kid Rock. At a rally in Michigan on Friday, former President Trump claimed that no one knows Vice President Kamala Harris's last name. Well, you know, maybe that's because they've never seen it on the news being removed from the side of a building. President Biden over the weekend wrote a letter to former President Jimmy Carter for his 100th birthday. A letter, no disrespect, but I think when someone's about to turn 100, you want to pick up the phone. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear hosted a Lawyers for Harris reception yesterday in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, Lawyers for Trump can't legally call themselves that anymore. "You can call me law friend." In a new interview, Melania Trump said that former President Trump would have liked to have had more kids, or as he called them, do-overs. As he called them. Burger King has unveiled its Halloween menu, while Arby's decided their regular menu is scary enough. Oh! Southwest Airlines has announced that it will do away with open seating and allow customers to book reserved seats, while passengers announced they're still going to jam their bodies into the gate 40 minutes before the door opens. And finally, satellite service DirecTV announced this week that it will merge with its competitor Dish Network. Unfortunately, they announced it during a storm, so no one saw it. CBS hosted the vice presidential debate last night between Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. And to make sure CBS viewers tuned in, they titled it Two Sheldons. During last night's vice presidential debate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance appeared to grow frustrated with CBS News moderator Margaret Brennan and said, quote, "You said you weren't going to fact check me." Ah, yes. What better way to earn America's trust than blurting out, "I was told we could lie." At the end of the debate last night, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said that there was, quote, "a lot of commonality here," which, if you speak Midwest, means J.D. Vance is now dead to him. After last night's debate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and his wife Gwen went to a pizzeria in New York while J.D. Vance was fed a tube of nutrient paste and returned to his charging dock. In his closing statement at last night's debate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz thanked the viewers for missing Dancing with the Stars. For those who are unfamiliar, it's a reality competition show that will hopefully feature J.D. Vance next season. During a White House event this week celebrating Olympic and Paralympic athletes, President Biden said they would have wanted to go to the games in Paris but couldn't because he causes a, quote, "commotion everywhere he goes. Never more than when he tries to go for a second term." It was a commotion. After former President Trump falsely claimed this week that Georgia Governor Brian Kemp had been unable to reach President Biden to discuss hurricane recovery efforts, Biden told reporters, quote, "I don't know why he does this." You still don't? I'm surprised he didn't say you let the storm clouds come in from Mexico. CVS Health is reportedly exploring options to break up the company amid financial struggles. Or, I don't know, try letting customers buy your products? Katmai National Park delayed the reveal of its annual Fat Bear Week bracket after one bear killed another, and it was live streamed on explore.org. Well, I'm not surprised. You keep calling them fat on the internet. Someone was bound to snap. Authorities in Missouri recently rounded up 5 horses that escaped from a nearby Renaissance festival in case you needed any more proof that horses are cool. They're like, "It's not this year. I'm telling you, there's a future." And finally, employees at a chain of grocery stores in Germany recently discovered more than 200 pounds of cocaine hidden in several crates of bananas, which I'm pretty sure is how you make these guys. I am actually over my cold, but Shoemaker loves the way I sound when I have a cold, so he's requested I continue to use the voice. A federal judge yesterday unsealed a 165-page motion detailing evidence against former President Trump and his election interference. Okay, but there's only one way he's reading 165 pages, and it's at the Cheesecake Factory. That's right, a federal judge unsealed evidence against former President Trump in his election interference case, which alleges that during the Capitol attack, Trump sat in his dining room watching Fox News and looking at Twitter on his phone. So, on top of everything else, he's one of those weird old guys who watch TV from the dining room. "Grandpa, come sit on the couch." "I'm fine here." While campaigning in Pennsylvania yesterday, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said that Ohio Senator J.D. Vance was misleading about former President Trump's record in this week's vice presidential debate and added, quote, "That's gaslighting." Said Vance, "What are you talking about? We never had a debate." "I've never seen you before." Former President Trump has turned down an interview with 60 Minutes because CBS News reportedly wanted to cut out of the interview to fact-check his responses, and that would have taken up at least 52 of the minutes. I'm doing it as a favor to you. You don't have the time. Vice President Kamala Harris campaigned today with former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney. That's right, a Cheney is campaigning with the Democratic nominee. Who's with Trump? The cast of Drag Race? When asked about her uncle's insults towards his opponents in a new interview, former President Trump's niece, Mary Trump, said, quote, "It's like he's looking in a mirror every time he opens his mouth now." All right, well, if there's one thing we know about your uncle, it's that he doesn't own a mirror. And we're good. Tesla has issued a recall for 27,000 Cybertrucks due to an issue with the rear view camera. Apparently, whenever it's on, you can see all the people laughing at you. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill into law this week that allows marijuana dispensaries to host live concerts instead of the other way around. A highway patrol officer in Washington State stopped a driver in the carpool lane who dressed the passenger seat in a plaid shirt in an attempt to make it look like a human. Just like politicians do every 4 years at the Iowa State Fair. McDonald's announced today it will begin offering the Chicken Big Mac. It's like the original Big Mac and contains roughly the same amount of beef. In honor of Halloween, Applebee's is offering new $10 boozy buckets, which are cocktails served in a 32-ounce bucket. But if you try to drive home afterwards, you'll also be served in a 32-ounce bucket. And finally, scientists in China believe they've discovered the world's oldest cheese in the coffin of a 3,600-year-old mummy. Or, hear me out, that's just what a 3,600-year-old mummy smells like. Guys, I think there might be cheese in here. That was a monologue, everybody. We are off and running.